with police waiting to arrest a former WWE star and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for April 21st. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With Randy Orton wrestling in WWE for 20 years, Matt Riddle went on WWE's The Bump to talk about his tag partner's career, noting that his match against Mick Foley from Backlash 2004 is when he realized Randy can do it all. For me, the one match that stands out in particular, and I think it was the match in which he really did a lot, the match that really solidified him for me was the match against Mick Foley, that no-holds-barred match where he went for the RKO, got pushed on the tacks, got thrown off the stage, and everything still overcame the odds and still won the match. And I think that was the big one for me where I was like, this guy could do it all. He's not just the son of another wrestler. This guy gets it. Speaking on Ric Flair's podcast, Mick Foley recalled a backstage altercation between the two, where the Nature Boy ended up punching Foley for disrespecting him backstage in WWE. Ric Flair went to shake my hand, and would not shake his hand, and I said, "You want to sign this book for me?" I'd envisioned a lot of scenarios. Never once did I envision Rick getting up and punching me. It never even entered my mind. When they were pulling me apart, Rhino was the main guy holding me back. He didn't have to work very hard to hold me back because I was not really trying to make forward progress. Rick's anger just caught me off guard, like I never saw it coming. While he was an EVP and former champion in AEW, Cody Rhodes decided to make his return at WWE as he's set to face off against Seth Rollins in a rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. On TV Insider, AEW president Tony Khan touched on Cody's departure, saying, "I thought Revolution was one of the best events we've ever had. We had a good amount of time to prepare knowing that the departure was final. I've had a while to prepare for that transition. I think it was a very successful transition. We had one of our two top buy rates in the history of the company, and one of the biggest revenue generating events we've ever had. Our TV numbers have been tremendous. It was a very smooth transition for us." Staying on the topic of WrestleMania Backlash, the undisputed champion Roman Reigns already has plans set for the event, with Dave Meltzer revealing on Wrestling Observer Radio that, since they haven't shot any angle with him, maybe they're not doing the pay-per-view without him. That isn't the case. He is in fact in the main event. I presume they'll shoot the angle on Friday, but he is in the main event on the WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view. After working for Impact Wrestling, Brian Cage would sign a contract with AEW in January of 2020. Talking to Chris Van Vliet, Cage mentioned that he nearly lost out on deals for AEW and Impact. A lot of people wanted me. A lot of people were interested in me. There were a lot of verbal offers, but obviously nothing actually offered or signed. And it couldn't have been anyway, because contractually and legally wise, I couldn't. So I tore my bicep the day before Hard to Kill, where I'm supposed to work RVD, which was under my current contract, my last match with Impact. Monday, I was supposed to become a free agent. I could sign wherever I wanted, and I already decided, okay, I'm probably going to go to AEW. Then the bicep went, and I was like, no. And Impact was supposed to hand me a contract in person, like an updated one from what they already tried to offer me. They said, "We're going to offer you one in person. Take it home, look it over, re-sign it, or whatever." And I was like, okay, I'll still look. Maybe I'll sign it, who knows? So I get there, and I tell them what happened with my arm. They're not opposed to trying to keep me, and they work around it for the match. Right after my match with RVD, I come back, and it's weird. The vibe was so weird. The place was so chill at Impact. But now everyone's looking at me weird. It's so quiet and awkward. I go, "What's going on?" I sit down, I pick up my phone, I look at it, and it's just blowing up. Brian Cage signs to AEW. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. My worry was, now this contract they had in person, they didn't give me. They said, "We'll just email you it later." My fear now was if Impact still wants to sign me because now I'm injured, I'm damaged goods. If Impact wants to sign me and AEW doesn't want to sign me, cool, because I can still sign with Impact. Now Impact thinks I'm signed with AEW. They're probably pissed off. I don't know if they'll take legal action. or maybe they don't want to sign me now. But I didn't really sign with AEW, and now maybe AEW isn't going to sign me either. So now I'm thinking, great, now I'm nowhere without a job and injured because some freaking dirt sheets want to get some clickbait. So yeah, I was furious. Luckily enough, Impact still ended up sending an offer to me, and Tony Khan reached out to me as well. He's like, don't worry, I'm sure you're worried we're going to rescind the offer, but we still want you here. We still have faith in you. He even offered to have me go to see his doctor to do the surgery, but with certain tendon injuries, you have to get them repaired within a certain amount of time or it's too late. But yeah, I was super thankful for him, and now he handled it, as well as Impact too. Kudos to both those companies. Despite his brother leaving the promotion to return to WWE, Dustin Rhodes remains as a part of AEW. Talking about it possibly coming back to WWE as well, Booker T noted on his Hall of Fame podcast that this would not surprise him. You know what? I wouldn't doubt seeing Goldust back in WWE. I'm sure Goldie is in a different place in his career than Cody is. I wouldn't say I'm sure. Goldie is happy just having a job, still being a part of this thing and being relevant enough to where people appreciate him enough to have him around. More importantly, the knowledge that he has to pass down to the young guys in the roster. Having someone like Goldie around in AEW is great, but there again, would not be surprised if I saw him back in WWE. With him said to still be recovering from knee surgery last month, Kenny Omega might not be making his return for the upcoming pay-per-view event in May, with it said on Wrestling Observer Radio that, at some point we know Buxton, Fish, and O'Reilly are going to be feuding, and it'll end up being Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly and Young Bucks and Kenny Omega when Kenny Omega comes back. I don't know where Omega is as far as recovery on everything, but I don't think he's going to make them a pay-per-view. I don't know that. Last I heard, it didn't sound promising for May. So what I think he would do is, maybe if Okada is champion or if Okada wins, even if he's not champion on that show, that pay-per-view show, and I don't know that Okada's on the show. AEW star and ROH TV champion Samoa Joe recently spoke to the New York Post about his time in WWE. While he had to relinquish his NXT title before being released, Joe is looking ahead. I wasn't overly frustrated with everything. Things like that happen. It worked out at times and sometimes it didn't, and that's how it goes. I don't really sit here and dwell on things and punish myself over things that I cannot change or never will be changed. I'm squarely focused on what's ahead of me and not behind me. Joe would add that more opportunity should be given to younger stars in ROH. It's always been a place where the newest, the most innovative guys from the industry kind of find a foothold to do what they do. I'd like it to continue to be that. I'd like to see more new faces and more opportunities given to younger guys in Ring of Honor. There has always been young, hungry talent waiting in the wings to show the world what they got, and Ring of Honor has been that place where they do that. Many were hoping that we'd see Cody Rhodes return to WWE at WrestleMania 38, and he did, as pro wrestling legend Gangrel criticized the company for Cody's return lacking the surprise factor, telling Wrestling Inc., everybody has got to know something, and everybody knows this and that, so there's no surprise moments. Definitely, I believe that mystery is missing in it, and that magic, suspense, and surprise of things, because everybody speculated he was coming, that Cody Rhodes was coming over, and you can't hide anything anymore when it's publicly traded companies. Everything is bound to get out, but I miss that. It hurts wrestling for fans like me. I like to be surprised. I want to watch something and not guess the outcome. Known as Sunny during her time in WWE, Tammy Sytch was recently involved in a fatal car accident where one of the drivers involved would be taken to the hospital and pronounced dead shortly after. The authorities are currently waiting on drug test results to arrest Sunny, as she is being sued by the family for wrongful death. This would be further discussed on The Observer, with it said that it's actually something of a landmark case if and when it goes to court. But anyway, that is the basic deal for circuit court. You have to ask for $30,000 minimum. And then as far as Tammy not being arrested, most likely the reason is just because law enforcement officials are going to wait until her tests come back, and then if the tests come back and they're also looking for more evidence on the speed of the car was going, the test can take a while depending on the situation. So it's not just alcohol but drug tests, and drug tests can take a while. So until that comes back, they probably will not arrest her. But that doesn't mean because they haven't arrested her that they are not looking at arresting her. Going back to his interview with the New York Post, Samoa Joe revealed what those in the WWE locker room thought of AEW. It's a good thing. The more competition there is, the more it drives the other guy to do better, to be better. It's healthy for the industry. It's healthy for everybody. Nobody was like, oh no, not another place to work. Anyone who was like that, it's just asinine and stupid. I don't know why anyone would think that. Taking to his Strictly Business podcast, Eric Bischoff spoke about AEW's licensing deals being inadequate, with exception to selling merchandise through Walmart. He'd go on to give his concerns regarding the company's growth. Nobody else out there that is manufacturing products is looking at the AEW brand right now, or anybody in it, and going, wow, we can build our future on that. They're looking at it and going, wow, this is interesting. Let's see where this tracks for the next 3 years. And if there's consistency, and they see that the belt program that AEW has, for example, at Walmart, and is actually tracking and growing and creating revenue, that will give future licenses the interest in coming out and trying to build some of their product on AEW licensed properties. But that doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight in WCW, providing AEW continues to grow, which arguably they're not. They're kind of flatlining at 1 million viewers a week. But if they can grow that industry in such a way that it gives confidence to manufacturers and distributors to go ahead and invest money in their licensing in hopes to increase sales off their products, that's when you'll start to see real growth in AEW. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.